Next, we're going to put down some drum parts for our chorus. And instead of making a new track by double-clicking over here, let's use that track template that we saved in the previous video. So we can right-click, insert track from template, new MIDI track. So it's already set up in record with our USB keyboard as the input. We're going to name it clap or claps. Then we're going to put a sample plugin on this track. Go to the effects, go to the instruments, and go down here and find Resample-matic 5000, which is the sample plugin in Reaper, which looks like this. Then we're going to browse for a sample, and I've included a bunch of samples in a folder, so let's go find those. Go to Browse, and here's our hard drive on our computer, and here's that folder that I've included. Let's open it up. Let's go to our samples and choose claps, which puts that sample in this plugin. So now if I play the MIDI keyboard with any key, we hear the clap sound. Now we could set up keys over here for note start and note end, but we don't really need that for this track because it's the only sample playing on this track. So it really doesn't matter what key we play. All the keys will work. And if we hit it soft or hard, it'll play back the same, which doesn't matter for this sound. So now let's record a clap part for our chorus. Click right here. It's going to give us 1 bar counting, and we can play our part. But before we do that, let's give this track a color, like this green. Let's also set up input quantize on this track. This way the part I play will be quantized on the way in. We don't have to fix it later, which will save time. So if we right-click over here, go to Track Recording Settings, Input Quantize, and we could set up Input Quantize right over here. Just turn it on. Let's use eighth notes. And it's going to quantize our performance on the way in. So let's put down the clap part. That should be good enough. We'll trim the right side, then duplicate it to both halves. Now let's add a kick part. But instead of creating a new track, let's just duplicate this one. Right-click it, duplicate tracks. We'll name it kick. Take this track out of record. Let's delete the MIDI items on the track and put down our kick part. And once again, it's going to quantize on the way in. Let's change our sound on this track to be a kick sample. Now we don't have to go back to browse because all our samples are in the same folder. So you can go up here and just switch it to kick 1 right here. Now if I play the keyboard, we hear that sample. Now for the kick, I want to layer it with 2 different samples. So let's select this, copy it, and paste it. So now there's 2 plugins on this track, and switch the second one to kick 2. Now if we play the keyboard, we're going to hear both samples at the same time. Let's adjust the volume of the second one to be a bit lower, about 2.5 dB. Let's put down our kick part. Once again, we could trim it and duplicate it to both halves. Now I want to add a snare part, but it's going to play the same part as the clap. So let's duplicate the clap track, Let's rename it Snare and change the sound on the plugin for this track. We'll change it to be the snare, and it'll play the same part, so we could leave it alone. And now let's add a hi-hat. Once again, we could duplicate this track, rename it hi-hat, change the sample to a hi-hat sample right here. Now for this sound, I want it to respond to velocity. Right now it won't. Each hit is the same volume, so we can change the minimum volume right here to infinity. So now if I play it soft, it's quiet, and if I play it hard, it's loud. So we can create an accented part for the hi-hat. So let's delete the MIDI items and record the hi-hat part on this track. Hear it back. Now we can readjust the velocities by double-clicking it and getting really close to the notes. See how the cursor changes? We can change the velocity just by dragging it up or down. Let's make the first hit as loud as possible and make the second hit a lot lower. Right about there at 18. Now it's cut from beat 2 by selecting right here and splitting it by hitting S, then delete this piece, then right-click this piece and glue it. So now it's a whole new item, and now we could loop it by dragging the right side all the way out. So it's going to duplicate those first two hits on each beat. So that feel we created with the different velocities, it will be the same for every quarter note. Giving an accented feel. Let's duplicate that to the second half of the chorus. Now let's duplicate that part for a shaker. Right-click, duplicate. We'll name it shaker. We'll keep the same part, but we'll change the sound. Use the shaker, and that'll sound like this. Let's pan it to the right. Let's hear it with the other sounds. So next we'll put down a tom track. We'll select this track and duplicate it. We'll name it toms. Delete the items on it. Let's pan it back to the middle. Open up the plugin. And let's change the sample to a tom. We'll choose tom 1. Sounds like that. Now for this sound, I want to use 3 sounds with 1 track. 3 different toms. So what we'll do is we'll assign a note to each one of them. Let's make this one 48, which is C2 for the note start and end. So now if I play C2 on my keyboard, I hear the sound. But if I play anything else, I don't. So it's only assigned to that key. So let's duplicate it or copy it and paste it and do the same thing for tom 2. But put this on 50 or D2. Now if I play D2, I hear tom 2. And we'll do the same thing for tom 3. Copy it and paste it switch it to tom 3, and put this on 52, which is E2. It doesn't really matter what notes we choose, as long as they're different. Now let's pan tom 1 a bit to the left side, and tom 3 a bit to the right side. So it'll sound like this. Now let's put a tom fill at the end of the chorus. We'll go over here and record the tom part right here. And that's pretty much the drums for the chorus. Let's save it. And in the next video, we're going to mix the drums to adjust their level to each other and also add some effects to make them sound better. And then we'll add some more samples on top just by dragging them in to their tracks. So let's do that in the next video.